episode of Philanthropy United. We are thrilled to have Jarrett Ransom of the Rayvan Group, aka the Nonprofit Nerd, with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
You are friends with my best friend, Shireen.
Yes, we met probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been following her, almost stalkering. Yeah, you know that word, on Insta, and it's just been so much fun to watch her and, you know, just everything. So yes, she said we should connect.
I know. Okay, she's the best connector on the planet, and
Good.
everyone she puts us in touch with is always such a worthwhile, like, future friendship.
Awesome.
So, super excited to have you here
So
tonight.
the bar is set.
It is set. I mean,
No pressure.
no pressure. Don't be let down. Tell us good stories.
I know, I will. Well, let's get started. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you, in last year alone, $2 million for your clients, 150 successful grants, 162 organizations have been impacted. That's insane. How did you do it? Talk to us.
Yeah. Well, I like to go back to why am I the nonprofit nerd, right? Like, why do I do what I do? And I started my consulting business, honestly, by default. 2009, reduction in force, womp womp. I lost my job. Well, I was asked to lay off my team. I was working for a $21 million operating budget, nonprofit. Asked to lay off my team. 6 months later, I was laid off. Ooh. Brutal. So I was like, you know what? I need food. I need to pay my mortgage. I still need to do this thing called life. So I started my consulting firm, the Rayvan Group. Rayvan happens to be my middle name.
Oh,
So that's
cute.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
Jarrett Rayvan Ransom. And I nerd out.
Name.
Right. Some people are like, is that your what do you call that when you write a book, but your alias?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, like your pen name?
Your pen name. And I'm like, no, that's on my birth certificate.
God-given.
And it's phenomenal.
Thank you. So love nerding out over nonprofits, eat, breathe, sleep nonprofit, change my license plate to be of service. I just love helping people help others. So started by default and have really just moved, you know, over the last, gosh, what is that, 11, 12 years now, working with so many social profit entities across the nation, and it's just been super rewarding.
So how do people find you?
Well, you can obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but one of the best ways is Instagram, Nonprofit Nerd.
But is that how your clients are finding you? Because I feel like a lot of the
Yes.
times we have nonprofits that are just so non-tech savvy that they would never be able to find
Shocking
you.
fact.
Yeah.
Shocking. So most of my clients do come to me by word of mouth.
Okay,
That is true.
Okay.
Referrals. And yes, I do have a great following on social media. It's interesting the demographic though, right? So like the clientele that finds me on social media is typically the startup. They're younger, so they are a little bit more savvy when it comes to, you know, like hunting and pecking, some fun personalities to work with. But I've also been in this landscape, you know, 20 plus years. So I have established a reputation, and then again, just so grateful to have those referrals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really amazing. So you lost your job working for a big nonprofit, and then you started this. Tell us about your first client.
So it was Free Arts of Arizona, here locally. Yep. And I was actually in the Phoenix International Airport, flying to Uganda, Africa, because that's what I did with my severance check. Like, why not take the opportunity?
That is a play out of my book.
And
I
were
love
you
that.
doing philanthropic work while you were going?
I took on a client that was based here. I did it pro bono because I wanted to gain the experience of
Sure.
working with another, you know, with an international organization. So I've always wanted to go and never had the PTO time to afford it. So I saw this as a blessing, right?
Absolutely.
And so I took my severance, I bought my ticket to Africa with a return trip as well. So I wasn't like, you know, staying forever. So I did some work there in a village in Uganda. It was so much fun. But before I left, I love to tell the story, I signed the contract with Free Arts of Arizona, and that was 2009. So
That's awesome.
right?
And what was it for?
Yeah.
So I was their grants manager at that time. I no longer do grants now. I've worked out of that service line. It's no longer my passion or fulfilling service line.
Well, and that takes a lot of effort and knowledge, one, to know how to fill them out appropriately to even get qualified.
Right.
But if you don't love it, it's hard to want to
Do
spend
you
the
have
amount
someone
of
on your
time.
team who does grants now?
Not anymore. So I did grow and build a team, and then I've since said, you know what, I want to empower you to grow and build your own team. So everyone that worked for me now is their own independent consultant, doing their own thing in the nonprofit landscape. So I refer any of those, any
That's
of those
awesome.
contacts. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do mostly?
Mostly. I do executive coaching. That's a really fun thing. So working with executive leadership roles and doing executive coaching with them. I do strategic planning. I know a lot of consultants do strategy work, but I developed a 4-part strategic succession planning modality, and so it's got like a little TM and a circle and everything behind it. It's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's a 4-step process, but I've taken pieces and elements of my 20 years and really codified an elevated system. And so it's truly for organizations that are, 2 million plus. They have board that are willing to participate in the strategy conversation, as well as key leadership, and they're looking and committed to that long-term planning. So it really is a commitment. So I do that. And then every weekday, I'm the co-host of the American Nonprofit Show called The Nonprofit Show. So
Cool.
yeah, and so it's a live webcast. We do 30 minutes, much like this.
Okay.
It's a webcast though, so we're not in person. So this feels really good to be here. Yeah.
Little switch up for your day.
It's so nice. And I just nerd out all day long. But those are my main service lines now.
How many typically show up for your daily webcast?
So it depends, honestly, on like
Is it daily or weekly?
It's daily, every weekday, Monday through Friday. We're coming up on 300 episodes. And we've had, conversations with leaders around the nation. And we stream through Roku, Fire TV, YouTube, Vimeo, all the others.
That is such a commitment to book someone every single day.
So yes, it's a commitment. And at first it was a labor of love, and it's become like my ritual. Like kind of taking that first sip of coffee if you're a coffee drinker.
Oh,
right? Where it's like
strong obsession.
Yes. Where you sit down, and I've realized every day I have an environmental scan, right, with a nonprofit leader, and that's how I'm starting my day.
That's so
amazing.
Great.
So is it always at the same time as well? So
Same
it's
time.
super consistent. I love
Super
that.
consistent, 9:30 Pacific, 30 minutes, come on, come off. We have a rhythm cadence that's really, worked well. We started it a year ago, like right in the beginning of the pandemic, going, what the heck do we do? How do we show up and continue to be of service? So we kind of just like turned on the TV and just started, and now it is like grown beyond our wildest dreams.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it's
talk
free.
to us about it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's free. It's available for anyone that is looking to grow their knowledge or professional skills in the sector. We have a lot of CEOs that come on. We have a lot of board members that come on as attendees, right? So like checking in to listen. But our speakers are everything from the Dave Thomas Foundation, right? We've had the CEO of that. We've had Parkinson's CEO. We've had so many just amazing guests that come on, and we talk about any and everything that affects the nonprofit sector.
That's so cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really, really great.
So is it now
where do
that
we
they're...
find it?
Yeah, how do we find it?
Oh, well, you can find it on my website,
Okay.
which is therayvangroup.com, or you can get there through Nonprofit Nerd. It redirects, or the American Nonprofit Academy. So it is produced by the American Nonprofit Academy, called The Nonprofit Show, and all our archives are available as well.
That is so, so cool. Does that lead to new clients for you?
Yes and no. Which has been fun, right? Like there's such a diverse population that comes into the show and listens in. And then we have just great conversations. But yes, it has led to some work, which has been fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about fund development. Is that still something that you're doing?
It is. So it's fundraising. It's, like we all need additional fund development. And fund development, fundraising has really become the F word in the nonprofit sector.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun, right? But it's like, it's really not scary. We're giving people an opportunity and an invitation to invest in the problem and to invest in the solution to that problem. So I do a lot of coaching now in fund development and really like taking that fear factor away from the F word.
That's awesome.
So can you give us kind of an example of types of things that you help nonprofits implement to be better fundraisers?
Or give us just an example of somebody
An
you worked
impact story.
with. Yeah, an
Yeah.
impact story that was, you
Yeah.
know, awesome.
I'm working with a client in South Carolina, so I work nationally in executive coaching with this client. And I like to call this her lemonade donor, right? So she, the CEO, took on this position. She was a former teacher, so never in the nonprofit space, never a CEO of a nonprofit, and never a fundraiser, right? So I'm coaching her on how do you go through the donor journey? How do you have conversations? How do you really just get to know the donor and prospect their capacity of giving? And so it's really, for me, I love it, but I understand, again, it's really scary for some people. So I've coached her through this, and this woman, which is one of her best donors, invited her over for lemonade, hence the lemonade story, right? And she goes, oh, honey, let me go in. I'm going to get us some fresh lemonade. She comes out with some lemonade and a $100,000 check. And
All she had to do was come and have lemonade?
Yes, I know. And I'm like, the point of this truly is that you have established a rapport and trust with this individual, right? So through the conversations, you didn't even know you were asking for money because you were just sharing your impact stories. You were sharing what you were doing in your community. And this wonderful lady, which I call her kind of like that blank check donor, which we all need those in our lives.
Yes.
It's like you could say, oh, we would love to have X, Y, and Z, and they go inside and get you some lemonade, i.e.
X, Y, and Z.
I love that. Honestly,
Right?
we know so many people like that who just surprise you. They see something on Facebook and it moves them, and they're like, okay, here, I'm going to step it up. One of our East Coast clients, actually, there's a fashion incubator out here, and every time they would post something about, you know, a new initiative or we're drowning and this is, you know, everybody we're helping, but we need money to stay afloat.
Yeah.
A check would show up. Yeah.
And I hope to be that one day, right? Like I hope to be that philanthropist. That's always a hard word. That philanthropist that it's like, oh, I heard you say that's what you need, and so I'm going to go back and either like send the check or send the email of the commitment. I think that's really fun. So a lot of my executive coaching clients have raised the most money in their life, right? Like in their tenure of being CEO or whatever role it is. And so under my leadership and guidance, it's really training them on how to be confident. And, you know, it's like, you don't have to be afraid. You're literally going to have lemonade with this lady. Boom.
Okay, so what are the biggest, I don't want to say problems, the most common
faux pas,
negative traits that you consistently are seeing in the leadership world of nonprofits? I don't really know if that made sense, but you get what I'm saying, right?
So
things that you notice all the time that maybe you can help correct.
Scarcity mindset. Like it is so time to get rid of the scarcity mindset. This morning, or whenever this is going to air, it's really fun. So let's see, it's April 20th. So I wrote an article about scarcity mindset and how it's time to get away from scarcity mindset because it is holding us back. Like I think that's a society issue at large, but then really look at our nonprofit sector. So I say this because I will go in and the first thing is kind of a litmus test when I work with my clients. If money wasn't an issue, what would you ask for? Right? If money was not an issue, what would you ask for? And I get responses like a new coffee pot would be great, or like new office chairs, maybe a van to transport our clients. And that to me tells me they have set the bar so low that they cannot even see their full potential.
Wow.
So that faux pas or biggest
wild.
Yes.
None of our nonprofit leader clients have ever thought that small. Thankfully.
Good.
That would irk me to death.
I'd be like, I'll just go buy you the coffee pot.
Right?
I know.
Then you would be their lemonade donor. The lemonade lady.
If that would be a game changer to bring in a check like $100,000, I'll supply you the coffee pot.
Yes, right.
Like, let's get the coffee fuel happening.
Yeah.
I know. Wow.
So I think that's just setting the bar too low, right?
I would love to take that article and repost it on our blog too.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Would love
Send
that.
everybody right back to your site.
Yeah.
That's, I think in business in general,
It
people
is.
have a really, really big problem with that.
So I like to go back to, like, we all have a money story, right? We all were raised in a way, and we all have some kind of connection, energetic connection, or spiritual belief when it comes to money and abundance. And so I like to work with my clients to coach them through their money story. It could even be, you know, when you're a little kid and you're at a restaurant and your parents are like, you cannot order anything on this side. You know,
Yeah.
that's a money story. Or we could never go to this vacation. It's too, you know, it's too fancy for us, or it's too, you know, we just can't do it. So those are the kind of things that really start to set our money story, I believe, in our lives, and then continue to perpetuate, unfortunately, that scarcity mindset.
You're right. I mean, it's generational.
It is.
It didn't just show up this way.
No.
I remember I had an ex-boyfriend and I was on vacation with his family, and his dad, we were out to dinner, we were like 15 or 16, and his dad was like, you guys can order whatever, but you can't get sodas because that's too much.
It's extra, right?
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
another $1.50.
I know. And I was like, wow, that's so weird. My parents have never told me something like this. And I remember that because then, you know, later on we would be out and he like would never order soda.
Right.
Because he just knew that was a no-no.
Yeah, exactly. But he would go and buy it from the convenience store for like half the price.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Weird little money stories.
Yeah, we all have them. We
Okay,
all have
so
them.
scarcity mindset, what else do you see most commonly?
I see a lot of times like ego gets in the way, and so therefore a lot of leaders are fearful to collaborate. And so I would love to see more collaboration, because I see us all as one big puzzle piece, right? And when we put our puzzle piece in the right place at the right time, that's when we're able to see this beautiful image. So if we hold on to our puzzle piece and I don't connect it with Kindle when it's time to connect with Kindle, right? Then it's like you never
build.
You never build. And so if we stand in our own way, whether it's ego or fear of the unknown, we will never build. And so I see that as another big challenge.
That's a really good point. I'm trying to think about egos and like nonprofits that we've worked with, and if
So how have you
Tell me one
helped
back.
different nonprofits overcome that? Because there's always going to be somebody who thinks they know what's best and maybe the stubborn one in the posse.
Or
so how do you overcome that
what
to
if
get
it's
them
not
on
the
the team?
CEO? What if it's someone like, you know, higher level executive? How do you manage that?
The board or the founder.
board. You're right. The board is
So how do you get them to
problematic.
kind of come to the other side, or
Yeah.
at least have a better understanding of why something needs to change or gravitate?
Yeah, give us some tips.
Yeah. So for me, I really take it further to, you know, let's advocate for the cause, not for our particular mission, but what is the cause that we're looking to serve, right? March of Dimes, great example, started many, many years ago, right? So like, what is the cause, and not our brand or our title of our nonprofit? What is it that we're looking to do? Eradicate homelessness, right? Like end sex trafficking. Like what is it? And what if we were to partner with other people? How could we make a bigger impact? So for me, it's really having some of those ideation conversations and putting everything on the table, right? We're not going to talk about how much it costs. We're not going to talk about whose role would it be if we were to partner.
Right.
We're not going to talk about, you know, who owns. We are talking about what is the solution to the cause that we are so committed and passionate about. So the long-winded answer is really just have an open conversation in that ideation space.
And that's probably where some of the coaching comes into play of
Yeah.
breaking down those
Yeah.
barriers.
Do you help organizations build their boards?
I do. Yes, absolutely. And I start with like, let's identifying what is their current makeup of the board, and to address, you know, and assess what are the gaps that we're missing, and really look at diversification in all ways. Ethnicity, of course, but socioeconomic, you know, there's so many ways of even how do we think, you know, at the table. Are you, you know, a big, bold thinker? Are you the analytic? And am I the like pessimist? You know, like we want to have such a diverse skill set around the table. So I do that through first identifying what's their current makeup, and then who do we need to bring on. But I also am very mindful of where are they in their life cycle, because boards are not a one size fits all.
Right.
Like probably these pants I have on today. But yes. One size fits most, right? So it's really not that same way. Like we have to look at who do we need on our organization or with our organization for where we are and where we're going. where
100%.
we're going.
It's funny, I was sitting on a board and I decided they were changing their direction entirely of where they were going. And where we started was where I wanted to be and where I felt like I was adding value. And after 2 years with that change, I said, I'm not the right fit for you guys anymore. This could go to somebody who's so much better suited.
Yeah.
And
passionate.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's where they want to be. So one of the tips I say on that, like if you're looking to serve on a board or looking to serve in your community, I always like to ask, if the organization would share their latest strategic plan. What is your, what is your strategy and your long term? So what is your immediate short-term goals and your long-term to see if that's a fit, right? But that's one of the things that as, a consultant, I do consult my clients to say, be willing to share this with the public, because you want to make sure that you attract and retain board members that are on the same level of where you are and where you're going.
So how do you recommend to your clients to find new board members? Like for example, one organization that I was a part of, they advertised in the Phoenix Business Journal and nobody hit.
Interesting.
I was like, I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but I'm curious as to what is.
If they were interested and they wanted to know about it, what are the ideal places to discuss a board position?
Yeah. So here locally in the Phoenix Valley, we have LeaderLink through Valley Leadership, and it's kind of like an online dating platform for board members.
Oh, cool.
So as an organization, you submit a profile of what you're looking for in a board member. As a potential board member, you submit a profile and what you're looking for and in an organization and how you wish to serve. If that's a match, you're both notified, and then you can swipe left or right.
It's called LeaderLink?
LeaderLink.
Interesting.
Yeah. With Valley Leadership, ASU Lodestar, right? Like they allow you to post board positions for free. I mean, they have job positions as well, but board positions for free. And so that's a great opportunity. And then word of mouth, back to that word of mouth.
Yeah, that's always the most popular.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so what are you the most excited for right now in terms of all the things that you've got on your plate?
Oh my gosh. So I'm building my strategic success system. That's a lot of fun. And again, just looking at the organizations that are ready to go big, go bold. I will buy them, and Kindle will buy them all the coffee pots they want in the world to go bold, right?
Yeah.
So doing that, but another service line I don't think I mentioned, and this was printed before maybe. No, it's right here. Interim Executive Services. So I do a lot of succession planning with organizations, and I come in and I serve as their interim CEO, COO, or CDO. So really help them engage in that next level of succession. And serving for an organization now based in Tucson. Never had hire before, like any hire before, and they want to bring on a permanent CEO. So I'm their interim, building the systems and the processes in place. And that's fun. That's exciting. Because
so awesome.
Yeah, because every organization is different, and their challenges and their opportunities are different.
So how much capacity do you have for new clientele right now?
So I take on one interim opportunity at a time, and then I do the strategy that's open, and executive coaching is also open. So
how long
I've got space on my calendar?
What is your range that you've been an interim CEO or any of the other positions?
So usually, and I think hopefully I'm answering this right, for an interim, it's usually between a 9 and 12 month engagement. Okay. During COVID, I was an interim, and it was for an organization that provided basic hygiene to individuals. And so right when the pandemic hit, that of course was like, high priority. And so I stayed much longer than intended at that organization, but I wanted to make sure that they were ready.
And handed off correctly.
Yeah, handed off correctly. But typically an interim engagement is 9 to 12 months.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So that way if somebody was thinking of you,
yes,
they kind of know where about you are in the next position.
Yes, yeah, call me.
So can you tell us a couple that you've been interim for?
Yeah. So currently serving for an organization Tucson-based, and it's called Elisa's Angels Foundation. Okay. And so I've done that. Also worked with Shoebox Ministry. So they were the hygiene organization. They provide basic hygiene items to individuals experiencing homelessness or living in recovery centers. And so that was, super rewarding. And then out of Seattle, I was an interim chief development officer for Transforming Age is their name. But it's a Seattle-based but multi-state unit facilities for kind of like, senior living services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So again, a couple of those different services. And then now, really that interim is great opportunity for virtual, right? Back in the day, BC, before COVID, like everyone thought you had to be in the office. And so for me to say, oh no, I've done virtual like succession planning before BC, people are like, really? How did that work? So I just want to share that because either myself or anyone, like it doesn't have to be here in your local community, right? You can bring in an interim from another community, and there's pros and cons to that, right?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if an organization wants to be expanding, it really doesn't matter if you're not located, in Seattle, for example.
That's right. Yeah. And that was fun. And I would go travel there, a couple of times a month and to be there to meet with the team because the culture, right? The workforce culture is a big piece of that. And there's only so much you can do virtually to really build,
right.
But then to like really ingrain. So, yeah.
That makes sense. So what would be a couple last pieces of advice for any nonprofit leaders that are listening to this right now?
I would say, a couple of pieces of advice. Get that darn coffee pot if that's your thing that's holding you back. But I work with a coach, right? Like I would say work with a coach. And if this is something that your organization pays for or you pay for out of your pocket, I think it is totally worth it. Whether it's me or someone else, like find the right fit and the right coach for you so that you can grow exponentially. I have a coach that I work with, like phenomenal. And so that's really good. And think big, think bolder,
Go hard, go home.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we aim to live our lives.
That's true.
Go big or go home.
So what's your next
There's a
goal?
checklist.
Oh my gosh,
There's gotta be a checklist.
We have so many like organizational tools in our toolbox that
I have to implement because I can't.
She's obsessed with, and honestly, I like them too, right? Because everything's at the tap of a finger. But it would be great if our nonprofit clients adopted the same strategies and techniques.
Right.
Yeah, like let's eliminate 10,000 emails and just here, everyone logs into this one thing and here's everything.
Here it is. Yeah.
But
that's interesting. Someday. I do that with my strategy clients, right? So I use an online software system. It's called Mission Met, and it is a project management tool. And so they can track kind of like a Gantt chart. Where are they? But it also gives the organization and the leaders ownership of the moving pieces.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
That puts it back on them to be responsible for what they're trying to implement.
That's right.
And I mean, we understand that there are so many distractions and so many things that are vying for someone's time that it's tough to get it all done. You have to have the right tools in place.
You have to. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thank you.
And everybody, to follow you on social media, it's...
So Instagram, Nonprofit Nerd, Facebook, Nonprofit Nerd, and the Rayvan Group also on website.
All right, and for everyone wondering, Rayvan is spelled Rayvan.
Yes, thank you.
Group.com, but it sounds like the bird.
It sounds like the bird.
Spelled like the bird.
Yes, Rayvan.
Thank you so much, Jarrett. This has been great.
Thank you.